DW Africa Link.
Is this really my child? This question is haunting many fathers in Malawi lately following a surge in DNA paternity tests. This trend is challenging the cultural understanding of the concept of fatherhood itself among many Malawians. But what has fueled this anxiety, and what are the psychological effects on not just the fathers or even the children, but families as well?
The view is most people need to accept that and need to accept the situation at hand, because in many cases, at the end of the day, these men have mindset, but okay, is this really my child? And
it's a right for anyone to be able to have that information, but I think it is also fueling a lot of issues.
Stay tuned for more on this shortly. I am Adwoa Tenkoramaa Domena, and you're welcome to Africa Link, the podcast that connects you to the stories that matter.
Africa Link, every weekday here on DW.
They say when in doubt, check. And this has been the reality of some fathers in Malawi regarding the paternity of their children. And it has led to what many have described as a surge in DNA paternity testing across the country. When I was preparing for this podcast, I came across a research by DNA Hub Africa. And it says that men with unresolved paternity questions are 40% more likely to experience anxiety and the tension that is associated with relationships. Well, I'm not a mother yet, to be frank, but as a woman, I'm also imagining how it will feel when my husband wakes up one day and says, let's have a paternity test. You know, how would that affect trust between couples? And even beyond the issue of trust, what is at stake here? For a country like Malawi, where culturally there has been very little interest in questioning the paternity identity of children, it's interesting to find out what has sparked this sudden demand for DNA tests. And that is what we want to unpack today. And well, I'm glad to be joined by Caswell Mkanda. He's a family counsellor. We also have DW correspondent in Malawi, Chimwemwe Padatha. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show. Chimwemwe, talk to us about what exactly is happening in Malawi. How are we all of a sudden discussing a surge in paternity tests in Malawi?
All right, thank you so much. I would say really there's been a boom in DNA paternity testing in Malawi, which also appears to be a new thing that has taken Malawians by surprise. What I've noticed is that there is a change of lifestyle among couples here in Malawi. There's a growing trend of adopting Western culture, which private hospitals, private health facilities are trying to instill this kind of practice to Malawians, something which is very normal, and it can happen in any country, including Malawi. So we have recently seen the booming of advertisements by these private facilities asking couples to go for a DNA paternity test. So this has sparked a discussion on different platforms, including online, with some people saying that there are effects that couples are likely to face due to the booming of these advertisements by the private hospitals. And Malawians have also received this in different perspectives, with marriage counselors also cautioning that the nation will likely witness the collapse of families, while others are saying that this will cement relationships and trust among couples. So that's what I can say briefly, what is happening in Malawi, a growing push by private hospitals encouraging couples to go for a DNA test.
How did it start? For me, I'm interested in how these private hospitals all of a sudden woke up to decide advertising on paternity tests. Was there a trigger?
Yes, there's been really a trigger because of late we have seen breakdown of marriages where men are also committing suicide. Mainly, this issue of men committing suicide is what has triggered the DNA test caused by the private hospitals because men are not taking it in good faith when they hear that their spouse is cheating, so they resort to committing suicide. So in response to this trend of men committing suicide, we have seen the private facilities coming in that no, you shouldn't resort to committing suicide when you pick up a quarrel with your spouse and end up knowing that maybe the kid is not yours. I would make reference to a certain incident that happened where a couple picked up a quarrel and the wife ended up telling the man that this kid is not yours. So the man committed suicide. So this trend where men are committing suicide is what has also created this scenario where private hospitals are taking advantage of the situation, responding to this gap, saying that no, you shouldn't resort to committing suicide. You can come and know the test, the DNA test of your kids in order to resolve the issues at hand. So I would say this is what has sparked this issue at the moment.
Mkanda, could you tell us, I mean, you work directly in the health sector, so we will be very interested to know what exactly it is that you have found to be the cause of this surge.
As a nation in Malawi, we're going through an evident financial crisis that has also contributed to marital unfaithfulness. And then also, number two, there's a lot of depression that is evident as a nation. There is a wave of depression that, of course, is also largely tied to the financial decline as a nation. So because of the depression, people are just seeking for compensational measures, and there's a lot of emotional cheating, people seeking for means of survival, and you find women seeking for comfort in places where at least they can survive the depression. So these are two of the factors that I can convey that they are also a cause of unfaithfulness. And because of this, it is indeed true, as Chimwemwe has said. I personally know one close friend who actually has fathered 2 children. He's a rich man, of course. He has fathered 2 children that were not his. It was up until they had done a DNA test when he now concluded that indeed his children are his. So these are reality stories that are happening in Malawi.
As a counselor, what do you consider before encouraging somebody to go ahead and take a test? Imagine you have a friend who has opened up to you to say that, look, I'm suspecting something. They usually say, when in doubt, check. And I want to go ahead with the DNA. If such a person comes to you as a counselor, what do you consider before advising him to either go ahead or not go ahead?
It's a very constructive question that you have conveyed. I would say that my answer is twofold. Twofold in a way that if indeed there is a history of unfaithfulness in one of the partners, I feel it is only good if they go ahead and have that DNA test, because if they don't have it, possibly they will continue to live in their doubts. As such, maybe a man will not fully accept the children that are there because he has doubts. But this man must have proper evidence that I have reasons enough to go for a DNA test. But number two, where there is no record of unfaithfulness, where there are no proper grounds for doubt, it's also very dangerous, both for the spouse and the kids, because then you can sow a seed of rejection. because then people will start asking to say, at my highest level of being faithful, I'm being doubted. Us being his children, he is doubting that we are his children. So even if the DNA comes out favorably, I think the children will continue to nurse a wound that why would our own father doubt that we are not his children? So those two factors there, it is important to go ahead as much as there is a record of unfaithfulness, so that at least they must find some peace in the truth. But also where there is no record of unfaithfulness, I think there is no need to go for such measures.
Right. Chimwemwe, are people supportive of the need for a DNA testing, or is there skepticism? What exactly is the feeling among Malawians?
This conversation has sparked mixed views, because Malawi is considered as a Christian nation with diverse cultural backgrounds, as Caswell has also mentioned. So this issue tackles several areas, including the country's culture and religion. I managed to interact with a certain pastor from one of the religious groupings here in Malawi. And from this discussion, it appears that the clergy continues to warn families against tests on backgrounds that if this is not well handled, it could destroy these families and the relationships. So the conversation has really been mixed, with others supporting it, others shooting against going for DNA paternity test.
Caswell, let's talk about the emotional trauma that comes with the whole process of the paternity test, from the moment when a man starts suspecting that this child may not be mine, their behavior in the home, what they go through in their mind, what they have to process before they even take the step, up until the time the test results, comes, or even the waiting period for the results to come. So when the test results come, walk us through how the emotional trauma comes to play here.
The levels of trauma are way so high. You know that in composition terms, men they have this ego, I would say, that anything that looks like it demeans them. Apart from issues of pride, but just say issues of performance, as in how they are taking care of their families, how they are loving their wives, how they are protecting their children. Possibly this will be negatively affected, because there has to be a motivation to every performance. So if you are doubting that these children are yours, it starts with the wife. What would make her do such a thing to me? So already a husband has got an issue with the wife. Again, he now has an issue with, say, innocent children. I'm so sure that the way how he would relate to the children will be very different, because he is now operating from a wounded position, from where he would not be at his best. And in a case where maybe the tests have come out positively to say these are indeed your children, there is also a need again to go through some sort of a counseling or therapy for realignment, because possibly there was a detachment. So there must also be some sessions this man must go through just to accept again that these are my children, and also this is my wife. But to directly answer your question, the levels of trauma are way so high.
Even I listening from here, it's weighing so heavy on me, thinking about all that people would have to go through. It's not just the person who has suspicions, but there are so many people connected, and it may even affect the family structure itself. Would you say that there should be structures in place that support the mental health of families that go through this problem?
There is indeed a need for such structures. Unfortunately, here in Malawi, Chimwemwe would agree that unfortunately, mental health help or just therapy services are only accessed by maybe those in the middle class or maybe higher class. It's hard to afford a psychologist, a counselor, or a therapist. I'll give an example of myself. I don't know how much that would be in dollars, but for me, to counsel someone, I charge the lowest fees that the lowest fee that I know. I charge about 35,000 kwacha. Not so sure how much that would be in dollars, but you still see that people so much struggle to commit. So I wish maybe there were affordable services, because the reason why I personally had put the lowest prices, mostly it's for control. Because if you also make it free, then it's a problem. But if there was an opportunity for people to access free services through these structures that we are hoping for, I think it could have been good. So that could be possible maybe if government partners with some institutions that can be funding so that people can go there, or maybe organizations are introduced. These are non-government organizations are introduced and fully funded just to be there for people, and we can reduce all these problems, and also issues of suicide, because these issues are everyday issues. If you go to a police station, you find that most of the people that are there are not there because of crime. They are there because of marital issues, family disputes. But even the people that are talking to them, they are not trained. These are just policemen, policewomen. So in Malawi, there is a very great need to set up structures just focusing on mental health.
Right. Chimwemwe, I assume that they do not have such testing available in public hospitals, and so citizens have no option than to go to these private hospitals, correct?
Yes, that is true. These services are not easily accessible in government hospitals, and Malawians are forced to go to these private institutions. Just to give you a picture, I had to find out from one of the private facilities offering the DNA paternity test, and it indicates that Malawians are forced to pay around 580,000 waja, between 580,000 waja and 600,000 waja, which is an equivalent of around 350 and 400 euros. So this amount is quite huge for an ordinary Malawian to access the DNA paternity test. So I would say it's out of the reach of most Malawians to access this test.
And are the private facilities ready for the demand? Earlier, when I spoke to you, you mentioned that there seemed to be a surge in these hospitals. You're recording large numbers of people who are coming despite the cost involved. So are these facilities ready? And do you see any indication from the government whether they are going to make this a public health concern so that public facilities can also offer these testing?
Yes, I managed to seek an explanation from one of the facilities on how many people are coming for the DNA test. And it appears that they are now overwhelmed by the number of men seeking these services. And I would say that from what they are saying, they are able to meet the demand at the moment because they are saying that once they go for the DNA test, they're supposed to wait for about 2 or 3 weeks to get the results. So I would say they are meeting the demand at the moment, as according to what I've established from these private facilities.
Very well. There are people who have said that in order not to wait and waste so much financial resources in catering for a child or create a tight bond with your child as they grow, it's best to take this test right when the child is born so that the intensity of the damage will not be as high as when the child has grown up. Is this an argument you support?
I would support it, but like I said from the very beginning, there has to be a background or a history of some doubts, because I'm looking at a couple who are living peacefully. Possibly there is no need for a couple to respond to the demand that is being propelled by this service provider for a DNA test. I still insist that if a couple must go for a DNA test, there has to be a history of unfaithfulness, a history of doubts. So in a case where you are doubting the pregnancy, I would agree in tune with your question that if you are doubting the pregnancy, not even the child, just the pregnancy, it will be timely and wiser to just do the DNA test whilst the child has been born, because then you are also sparing that child from some trauma or suffering rejection, because he or she won't know that there was such a service offered on him. So I would say offering it at childbirth is the best time.
But Chimwemwe, you are going to be a father, or you're hoping to be a father. Is this something that you are likely to, this test, are you likely going to do? Or like Caswell said, unless you find suspicion enough?
I would say I would consider doing it unless I'm given proper counseling prior to going for the DNA test. Because what I've noticed is that these private facilities we are talking about right now are not offering any counseling sessions prior and after the DNA test. So it's an issue of treading carefully. Unless that aspect of counseling is there, I can consider doing it. But in the absence of this counseling session and proper ways of how to handle the after effects of the DNA test, I wouldn't go for it.
Interesting. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for your time. I have enjoyed my conversation with you. I'm hoping that our audience will also enjoy this as well. When in doubt, when you have reasonable suspicion, experts are advising that you indeed take this step, but also consider your mental health so that you do not hurt yourself while trying to ascertain what you think is a fact. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a joy.
As we do always on this show, we hit the streets to find out from you what you think about the topics that we are discussing. So on today's episode, we hit the streets of Lilongwe to ask some Malawians what they make of the surge in DNA paternity testing across the country.
Most people need to accept that and need to accept the situation at hand, because in many cases, at the end of the day, these men have mindset, okay, is this really my child? So they need answers to several situations at home. Maybe you understand sometimes the women are empowered enough and they leave the men behind. And it leaves questions with the behavior that those women start perpetrating at homes. So they start to wonder, so if this woman was hiding this behavior, are these children really mine? So yeah, men need to get through those DNA tests. But what we can advise is we need to also have ways in which we can relate with the answers or the answers that we have from the DNA test that we have. Because it might happen that sometimes the results do not actually be the ones that we really understand or accept at the moment. So we should not commit suicide for that matter. What we need is to sit down, seek counseling, mentorship, so that we may have healthier men, better men.
It is a right for anyone to be able to have that information, but I think it is also fueling a lot of issues that end up affecting men mentally to an extent that we have seen men. Just today we have a case of a man that has committed suicide for being told that the child is not yours. So we need to be able to have a platform where men can actually open up about these issues and have counseling sessions, maybe if they meet a situation like that, rather than just going straight to kill yourself. Because raising a child that is not yours does not warrant you to kill yourself. But open up, talk about it, heal from it. We cannot say that we are defending women, but we need to be able to be honest with ourselves as men and face those issues without actually indulging in any self-harm behavior.
To some advocates, knowing your child's DNA right at birth can save both parents and the child from unnecessary drama and trauma. and even future uncertainty. In this view, requesting a DNA may not signal mistrust, but rather a desire for peace of mind and stability in the relationship. So what do you think? Share your thoughts with us on Facebook at DW Africa. Listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to our DW Africa YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. This show was co-produced and edited by Isaac Mugabi. And I am Adwoa Tenkoramaa Domena. Many thanks for listening.
DW, made for minds.